Beyond. Welcome back to the channel and to my space. So today, guys, I am continuing with the 4-part series on how God taught me principles through home ownership. So today we're talking about house number 2. If you didn't see the first video and see the principles that I learned that God taught me through home ownership or buying homes, you can go over and check that video out. But today we're talking about house number 2. What is interesting, I always forget. Guys, listen, my goal this year is to increase the subscribers for my YouTube channel. I always forget to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel. So I want you to go ahead and do that now. Also, if you will like the video, all of that helps my channel in the YouTube atmosphere, in the algorithm. I'm trying to get my channel to grow, and I'm asking for your support this year in doing that. All right, let's get into this video. So today we're talking about house number 2. And it's interesting that for house number 2, I think back to house number 1. House number 2 and house number 1 are kind of connected. The reason is, as I stated in the first video, was that I had started looking for a home. And it was interesting that I had just started teaching. And in my career, I was working in a particular city, in a particular school district. And part of my job was to provide itinerant services for parents and their infant children at the time. I taught during the day. After school, I served parents and children in their home. And so while I was serving these families, I'd get to drive around in the city of the school district where I work. Lo and behold, while I'm doing that, I come across this neighborhood and I see this home. And I'm telling you, I fell in love with that home. And the thing of it is, this home I saw before I ever even saw or thought about purchasing the first home that I bought. This neighborhood was being built. It was a huge area. They were going to be this massive community that they were building. They were redoing roads at the time, trying to accommodate the growth that was going to be coming to that city. And so as I was driving around doing my work, I came across the neighborhood and I went into this home and I was like, oh my gosh, this home is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I really love that home. I fell in love with that home. And even though, I had purchased my first home, I just, I didn't think any more about that home. I just knew that home was the architecture, it was the layout of the home that I really fell in love with, in the particular city as well. And so I went on about my business. I was doing my career, and my cute little first home, I had switched jobs and I promoted in my position. I became a school counselor and I worked for another school district which was further away from my home. It's quite a drive to do every day. So I sold my cute little first home. I sold it. My son and I moved into an apartment, and I continued to work in the new district that I was working in. We sold the home, we lived in an apartment, but my goal was I was only going to stay in that apartment for, until I found another home. So I didn't plan to stay there long. My plan was to sell the other house and buy another house. I was just going to be looking for a home, staying in the apartment while I looked for a second home. And so guys, one day I was out driving and I go to the neighborhood that I had driven around in all those years before. Now by this time they had expanded the roads, they had done construction around the area, they were building up more buildings and shops and things around the area. But I go back to that neighborhood and lo and behold, the builder is still there, and now they're building their last phase of this particular home. But the story doesn't start there. I'll back up. In my home search, once I'd moved to this other city, in my home search, there was another neighborhood near where I was working that I went to go and pursue home ownership. And I had some other co-workers who were buying in this neighborhood. It was a small town, wasn't really big, small town. And I went to go and look for a home there. My coworker got pre-approved. At that time, I felt that my credit was, A1. Remember, in the first home, I had credit issues and thought, oh, I can't afford a home. Well, this time, when in my home search, I was confident. My credit was good. I was making good money. I didn't have debt. So I was so excited to be able to go and talk to this builder and purchase a home. And guys, this is the craziest thing. The craziest thing happened was I applied for the loan for the home and I didn't get approved for the home. And I was just like in shock, but it was something interesting. Immediately I knew. I felt that my credit was good, but what it immediately came to my spirit was that no, God doesn't want me to have this. This is not what he wants me to have. And I didn't get upset. I didn't cry. I didn't falter in not believing God. And I wasn't, well, why God, why? I just said, you know what? Immediately the response in my spirit was that this is not what God wants for me, or God has something better in mind for me. And so I quickly forgot about that. I didn't worry about it. In fact, I kind of stopped my home search. But here again, I had another dream. And again, in this dream, I dreamed of a light fixture. Again, a light fixture in the kitchen. And what I did mention in the first video was that the dream that I'd had about the light fixture in the kitchen in that first home, when I went to the kitchen, it was the same light fixture. And the second thing happened again, the second time. I had a dream about the house, about a kitchen, this light fixture, and to me that said, you need to go and start looking. And I did. Well, I went back to that neighborhood that I had gone to, had been driving in all those years ago. I mean, this was probably like 7 years later. This was like 7 years later. That's when 6 years later. It was 6 years later when I first started looking at that home that I really liked. So 6 years later, I'm just driving around all that area. They're building up homes. I go in back to that area, which looked a lot different because of the road construction, and they were building things, and the builder was still there, and they were building the last phase of these homes. And lo and behold, now I go in, this house costs more than the home where I'd been declined. This house costs more. And lo and behold, I apply and I get pre-approved. So for the house that I had dreamed that I really, really loved, for that home, I love that home. Again, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. And, pardon me. So I was approved for the home. I was so excited because it was the home that I had really, really wanted all those years ago, that I really fell in love with. I absolutely loved the layout. And I tell you, I was able to purchase that home. I got pre-approved, no problem whatsoever. Fantastic interest rate and the like. So I was able to move into that home. My son and I, we moved into a new school district, a better school district at the time, which I was excited about for my son. But guys, that was my second experience with home ownership. And again, with each experience, God taught me some principles, some biblical principles that it was interesting that he used home ownership each time to do it. And so for house number 2, the principles that I learned is that number 1, God will protect you from the decoys. So many times when we're on our journey to purpose, or we're asking God for something and we're seeking God and we're expecting God for a promise when he's given us direction, many times decoys will come. Things that look good, things that you may want to say, oh, this is it. Maybe I feel like I won't get anything better. This is it. No, don't be afraid when God rejects or does not allow you to get into that deal, because he's protecting you from decoys. I learned that through the second experience with home ownership. Which brings me to point number 2. Don't be dismayed in the rejection, because oftentimes in the rejection, God is trying to protect you. Kind of the same thing, but God is trying to protect you when you're rejected. And point number 3 that I learned, God will give you the desires of your heart. Now, while I know these experiences are focused on homes, what I want you to think about and understand and accept is that these experiences, these principles that I've learned can be applied to any area of your life, whether it's about health, whether it's about home, whether it's about your ministry, whatever it is, relationships. You can take these principles and apply it to whatever is on your journey to purpose, whatever is on your program, your ministry, and how God is using you and moving you and where He wants to take you, the things that He does in your life, how He's trying to establish your trust and faith in Him, and how He's trying to develop you in understanding. Don't be pigeonholed into not only just other people's experiences, but pay attention to how He moves in your life. Because as I said in the first video, oftentimes we want to put God in a box that's based on our understanding, that's based on our thought processes, our limited wisdom and knowledge, our resources, and our capabilities. But God's ability far exceeds man's ability. So don't pigeonhole God into our little scheme. So those are the 3 lessons that I learned from house number 2. I hope that this has been a blessing for you. So guys, thank you again for watching the video. Now next week, we'll be talking about house number 3. There's a big change with house number 3, so I hope you guys will keep watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the videos. I'll see you again if the Lord says the same. Bye.